You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for listening to America's Web Radio. I am Roger B., and this is the Locked and Loaded Show. Today we're going to talk about guns, the politics of guns, accessories for guns, all kinds of stuff having to do with guns, weapons, and firearms.
Guns.
So I hope you're going to enjoy everything. And today we do have a special guest. We have Clint Morgan from Classic Firearms in North Carolina. He is going to join us, and we're going to go over a specific topic about how Google and YouTube are pushing extreme limits on anybody who has conservative ideals.
You need to ask Clint if he's safe from Hurricane Dorian.
So far.
Yeah. Appreciate you having me there, Roger.
Sure thing, Clint. Glad to have you. Glad you could make it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's been fun, that's for sure, the past couple of weeks, months even, being on over social media and being a gun-centered channel and social media and everything else. It can be a little rough sometimes.
I can imagine. I mean, it seems odd that they can actually push this type of discrimination on whoever they decide they want to.
Yeah, and, within the last month or so, I've been talking to some of our marketing guys about, how many posts have we just had removed. Some that have been up, for a long time now. We're talking maybe even a year already. And we've had about 10 to 15 posts on Instagram alone just removed, simply because we're talking about our giveaways, which we host a lot. 1 month we host, several firearms giveaway, and I say firearms because we give away rifles, pistols, and also quote-unquote firearms.
Firearms, yes, those unclassified weapons.
Right.
Yeah, now that's been a huge influx. I've seen a lot of those coming around, that there's just all kinds of different things out there that are all of a sudden you wouldn't think would have been legal, but because the BATF is reclassifying things, we're getting a whole lot of really neat stuff coming out now. Yeah,
absolutely. It just kind of goes to show how kind of ridiculous the gun laws we have here are.
Yeah, we've actually discussed it before, that until 1934, from 1789 when the Constitution was ratified until 1934, there were no federal restrictions on gun ownership, type, size, anything.
Right.
So we made it over 140, 50 years with no gun restrictions, and everything was fine.
Yeah, everything was fine, and I think we have a lot to blame kind of like our modern society on, I guess you could say, because, my dad used to tell me all the time, he could walk into a Woolworths and pick up what would considered a weapon of war at that time, an M1 Garand for $50-$60 and walk out the same day. You could order machine guns out of an article that you read at a catalog,
Right, and have them delivered right to your door.
Yeah, right. What a time to be alive. But, today I think we just have a lot of people that just, I don't know, I think we live in that generation that is the give-me generation, and we're so self-centered to think that, it's just kind of ridiculous. Let's put it that way.
Right. Well, it's like, as Ben Franklin said, those who will give up liberty to gain security deserve neither.
Right, absolutely.
If you're willing to sacrifice your freedom, then you don't deserve, if you want to have complete security, be fed 3 meals a day, get everything paid for, you can probably go to prison and you'll get that easily.
Yeah, you're absolutely true about that. And, the funny thing about that is you'll be surrounded by guys protecting you with guns, so you'd have to think about that, though.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. So we've talked about that before, where it's funny how these politicians who want to limit all our guns and weapons, yet they have bodyguards. Their kids go to schools protected by guys with guns, but yet the standard citizens, they don't deserve that same protection as their kids do?
Yeah, no, apparently not.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I was looking into this YouTube thing, and now apparently, even if it's any video that has to do with any kind of gunsmithing, they've removed almost all that. Anything that has to do with putting a lot of guns together, or assembling an AR-15 lower, any type of thing like that, they've removed all those things that go against their community standards.
Yeah, we actually had a video of Ben, and if for any of your listeners that aren't too familiar with the company, Ben has been the face of Classic Firearms for a long time, and he's still with us and everything. He just wants to focus more so, instead of being in front of the camera like I am now, he's just yelling at me behind the scenes, no, that's not how you do it, this is how we do it. And he's focusing on how to getting us into some more cool surplus stuff and things like that. But not too long ago, for an SKS rifle, which is a very simple firearm, 7.62 by 39.
Right, those were around they were probably invented in the 20s or 30s?
SKS is probably a little bit later than that. They were huge during the Vietnam War on the VC side of things, but just a real basic, simple rifle. And we couldn't post on YouTube how to clean the cosmoline off of one of these that comes in a crate and they're just full of cosmoline, this greasy stuff that
right.
from rust and stuff. But because he disassembles the firearm and puts it back together and shows how to clean it, YouTube actually wouldn't let us have it on their
wow.
site. Yeah, and that was just a basic cleaning of how to get the crap off of there, you know what I mean?
That is, yeah, and it's crazy because they push it on more than one side of things. I mean, I believe they're pushing this in political agenda as well, as not just with firearms, but with politics as well. They're trying to influence our elections. As weird as that may sound after the Russia thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I see it all the time. I mean, I saw it definitely in 2016, and I typically watch nothing but more conservative-leaning things, as you can imagine, and I would get ads all the time for more of the left-leaning politicians or things like that, and finally I just installed ad blocker and said, forget this, I'm tired of seeing it.
Right. You don't want to, I mean, it's good to know what they're up to, but you don't want to be flooded with it either. Now, also on YouTube, though, the biggest thing is they've done any of the gun videos that are not being removed have been demonetized. So any of these guys who make their living by showing you, a shooting range where they're trying out new guns or new ammo, whatever, they can no longer make any money by ads running on their videos.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that. I don't know if you know who the car tuber, I'll call him. His name, he goes by the name of Tavarish, and he does a lot of car things. Like, I don't think a lot of people really have any bias towards cars unless you get into the entire Ford versus Chevy debate or anything like that.
Right. There's always going to be, loyalties here and there. But those are friendly rivalries, we'll call them.
Right. Friendly rivalries, sure. I can agree with that. But, no, Tavarish has been posting a lot of car stuff for a long time. And we actually came out with a pretty fun video to make. And it wasn't anything really, that goes into the depths of politics as far as guns or anything like that. All it was a fun video to make, titled whether a 50 BMG or a twin-turbo Lamborghini. And we shoot everything starting at a 22 long rifle all the way up to the 50 BMG with everything you can think of in between. And a whole lot of fun doing that.
Oh, that must have been a blast.
As soon as it was great. But as soon as that video went live, he put out on Instagram and everything that it was immediately demonetized just because it featured some guns. You know what I mean? Because
guns were in it at all.
Yes, because guns were in it at all.
Now, and that's something that's come up. I've had people ask me before about this. Is it legal to discriminate against something like this? I mean, is there any legal precedent set for discriminating against people who don't believe what you believe? I mean, could you force YouTube to become a private company, forcing them to make memberships for people if they're found guilty of discrimination?
Right. Well, see, I thought we were all under this thing called the First Amendment, and as far as I know, that YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google, all of these different platforms are just that. I know that they're their own businesses and companies, sure.
Right, they are privately owned.
Right, but they're not like publishers, like the New York Times, which I can understand would have their own opinion, based off of things. But these guys are acting as platforms for freedom of speech, and when you're thinking that you're discussing items that are actually another constitutionally protected item, you think it would be okay to talk about on their platforms. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I was trying to see if there was any way that you could find a way to limit what they could discriminate against. And, there's always, ethnicity, religion, color. And if you look, it says creed. Now, creed is just a system or a set of beliefs. And if you believe in conservative beliefs that are not illegal, that would seem like that would be a version of discrimination that should be illegal by current federal law.
Right.
And I would love to see somebody come and try and push this a little farther along. I mean, I would now, granted, everyone's going, oh, just boycott the YouTube. It's like, you can't do that. I mean, there's music videos on there. Kids listen to it. I mean, there are some good videos on there. But what I was thinking how you could make an effect is if you wanted to hurt YouTube in some way, or at least show them you're not happy with them, is do not click through on any of the links that pop up for anything. Right. You know, if you want the product, go outside of that window, open it in a different window or different browser even, and go to that site. But don't give any of their advertisers any money or any click-throughs to help monetize any other videos.
Right, yeah, and it's just such a shame, too, that, you know, we got these major tech companies that kind of have that stranglehold on what's popular, right? And so, of course, everybody says, well, man, without YouTube or without Facebook, I wouldn't really have much of a company. It's like, all right, well, we need to get some more conservative-minded people starting up their own type of big tech type of stuff, because this is getting a little out of hand now, especially whenever we're being censored ultimately about, you know, things as simple as cleaning a gun. You know,
things
what I mean?
That are guaranteed rights that are spelled out in the Constitution, and these people can literally shut people down if they're talking about it. I mean, that's as fascist as it gets. Right. Even though they love to say they're anti-fascist, they're following the fascist playbook step for step without missing a beat.
Yeah, and it's nuts. I mean, you kind of look what's happening right now, too, in the UK with Tommy Robinson. I don't know if you're following up on that or not, but, man, it seems like, you know, the country a long time ago really cracked down on firearms and everything else, and I feel like, I don't know, I've seen this before in, I don't know, history, that they usually start by disarming the populace and the citizens, and then all of a sudden they're disarming them by taking away their voices as well, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, Clint, we're going to be right back. We've got to take a quick break here. You're listening to America's Web Radio. This is Locked and Loaded. We'll be back in a moment.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Your auto love and investment demands the best, and for 45 years, Passport Transport has been meeting those demands. From manufacturers to the one-car collectors and all other facets of the auto industry and antique auto hobby. The first and the finest with unequaled service and peace of mind. Passport Transport, your auto transportation company. Contact PassportTransport.com with your need today. Passport Transport.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Welcome back. This is America's Web Radio. You're listening to Locked and Loaded. I am Roger B., and today we have our special guest, Clint Morgan from Classic Firearms.
Appreciate it, Roger.
Glad to have you with us today. I'm so glad you could manage to call in. And if you're ever in the Atlanta area on a Tuesday, you need to let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll work out better for me, too, because I have Sprint, and sometimes Sprint doesn't like me.
Oh, yeah, there's always that. Now, you were talking just before we left, we were saying, you know, people are looking for alternatives for everything. And that's one thing I started looking into a little bit, and I found out there are a few alternatives to YouTube when it comes to gun videos. Now, granted, a lot of these places are just starting out. They're fairly young in their creation, so you're not seeing the kind of quantity that YouTube has. But I
Right.
think if we can get the word out there and get people to realize that these places exist, they can start going there, watching more videos, clicking on sponsors, and working on stuff like that.
And helping them grow some. I see some, like, for instance, like Full30.com is one that I've seen from a couple of years
Full30,
ago.
created by Mark Hammonds. When YouTube started demonetizing the videos, he came up
Right.
and started copying the style that YouTube had and stuff like that. But there, everything can be monetized. He can run ads to sell guns, ammunition, all things which YouTube does not allow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And they do a click through. So if you have an ad on there and you get a click through, the guy makes some money.
Yeah, which is good for them, too, because I know YouTube brings a lot of that money in, but, of course, if they're demonetizing these gun tubers and things like that, that, of course, doesn't help. So anytime that we can get more people out there to, hey, click on this guy's link, let's start helping them out and hopefully bringing a little bit more people to that site is always a good thing.
Right. And like I say, if you need to get an AR-15 built and want a good video, can't find it on YouTube, go to Full30.com. They seem to have a good selection of stuff. And another one that I found is one called Gunstreamer. It's a second type of site. It's done in a YouTube style, and they have high-quality gun videos that YouTube has started banning. But the neat thing about Gunstreamer is that there is an app on the iTunes and the Droid store where you can download it direct to your phone and have a direct app for that.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, that's something that I wish Full30 would work on. Now, I don't know, though, if they would be, so far the Gunstreamer one is still available. But I don't know if you know this or not, but I know iTunes took the gunbroker.com app off of their app store.
No, actually, I did not know that.
I actually have it downloaded, and someone said, I can't find it. So I went and looked, and it's no longer available for download. I don't know if they didn't meet some sort of upgrade requirements or something, or they just took them off because, quote-unquote, community standards weren't met.
Right, community standards.
Yeah, the community that they want to have, the socialist community. Socialist,
right,
fascist, Bernie Sanders community.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, now I just saw an article today, I don't know if you've read this yet, but Walmart has apparently caved to social justice warriors.
Yes, just saw that. And, me and Classic Firearms being in the business of selling your short barrel ammunition as what they're labeling some things. Hey, you know what? Come to ClassicFirearms.com. We'll be more than happy to provide you guys full of short barrel handgun ammunition or
any kind of ammunition you need. The Classic Firearms, I'm sure, can meet your needs for that. Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's one thing. It will push more people towards local gun shops or toward online ordering from gun-specific businesses. So, it's really not the worst thing in the world. Of course, it does offer a bit of an inconvenience sometimes. If you're out somewhere and just happen to be passing by, there's more Walmarts open on a Sunday afternoon than there are a lot of gun stores.
Yeah, and you got to think sometimes there's actually more Walmarts available than there are local stores that might be providing the needs that you're needing or needs that you're wanting or whatever it may be. And, a lot of these guys out in those rural areas, they don't have much of an option, and now Walmart's even taking that away from them. So it's like, man, guys, if you can wait a couple of days, you can order online, we can have it shipped to you at least.
Right. You do have to plan a little more in advance. We were talking about this in California since they've added their restrictions. I don't know if you've been keeping up with that, but what they've done is you have to have a background check done through a federally firearm licensed dealer in order to buy ammunition.
Yeah, that's nuts. When you think about how easy it is to actually go ahead and start making your own at home, reloading ammo, things like that. It's again just another one of those things where they try to infringe on what they can do is start, like they've always talked about increasing the taxes on ammo or just making it so expensive that you can't even shoot the guns that you currently own. And it's just another way that they can try to sneak in their infringement.
Oh, it's definitely backdoor gun control because there were people who lived in a town it was called Needles, California. And they're like within a couple miles of the border, I think, with Arizona or New Mexico. I can't remember who. I think it's Arizona. But they used to be able to drive over there, buy their ammo, 15 miles away and bring it back. Now, the nearest store in California where they can legally buy ammo and bring it and take it and keep it in California is 140 miles each way. So they have to make a 280-mile round trip just to purchase ammunition for their guns. And they can't get it through mail order anymore either. They have to go through a licensed dealer. So they'd have to have it shipped to someplace 140 miles away.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. I think, that is pretty insane, especially if it's something as simple as, hey, I want to go hunting with my friends, because the last time I checked, that's not really illegal too many places, or just I want to go out and, catch tonight's dinner or something, and, are you one of the box of 30-06? Right. Now you have to travel, 280 miles? I don't think so.
That's right, just to buy your hunting ammo for the season. Now, of course, I think what that's going to do is have people buy a lot bigger quantities if they're capable of it. But imagine just even going out plinking with a 22, showing, a son or daughter or nephew something how to shoot. You have to drive 280 miles round trip to buy a couple boxes of 22. It's backdoor gun control.
Oh, absolutely, and all of it's by design, like you say with the backdoor gun control. I mean, they're thinking, well, people won't be interested in the sport if we make it that difficult. If just the drive alone is going to turn them off, well, that's what we're going to do,
Right. Now, I would hope that people out there, somebody would open up a store or get licensed and be able to provide these people something a little closer or nearby to where they could fill a need. Because up until this point, they hadn't had a need because they were so close to the border, it was only a few miles away. But now that they're not legally allowed to do that, now, see, I don't know what the laws are in the adjoining state. I mean, I wonder if people just ignore it and go, I'm going to buy my ammo there anyway. I don't care because no one's going to come check on it. Or, but in order to be completely legal, they're supposed to drive to a California dealer to get that done.
Yeah, that's pretty insane there.
Yep, and it's just, it's just one of many ways they're trying to push it. And now, this was one thing I saw. I don't know if you'd seen this or not, but NASCAR apparently is beginning to lean a little more to the left.
Yes, I did see that as well. Looks like and what kind of strikes me by surprise too is, after reading up on this entire NASCAR injecting left-wing politics into the racing, I think that's not the fan base that they want to be appeasing.
Do they know who their fans are? Do they have any idea?
I grew up and, lived right outside of the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And, man, NASCAR is kind of a big deal in this area. And I don't think I've ever met an anti-gun socialist who's, over there yelling at the cars and having a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, what do they expect? I mean, they want to have, these Antifa, man bun wearing, skinny jean wearing, gun hating socialists in the stands at the NASCAR race? I don't think that's going to turn out very well for them.
Yeah, I have no idea, and I'm kind of concerned too because I've got my Daniel Defense Mark 18 actually sitting in my office here with me. But Daniel Defense actually put out a car with their name all over it and everything, and I guess NASCAR is allowing that because they don't actually have a picture of a rifle or a gun on there. I'm not sure.
Right. Well, they actually were soliciting from gun companies to try and advertise in their magazine.
Yeah.
So there was the first one I saw it was great. I think it was called Dark Storm Industries. They said they submitted one featuring the company's AR-15.
Yeah.
And it was rejected. So then they submitted it again with a big black box over part of the gun. It said censored.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good, and I don't think NASCAR liked that one either, did they?
No, they rejected that as well.
Of course they did.
Well, it said censored. This publication rejected our ad, was also rejected by NASCAR. Yeah, no kidding. But they were just playing with them. I mean, it's like, here you go. You want to censor it? We'll censor it, and we'll label it as censored. Because that's exactly what it is. It's like they have no idea who their fan base is.
No, apparently not. The entire appeasement society that we live in now and trying not to hurt each other's feelings, I think, has gotten a little out of hand and, showing a picture of ultimately what is some metal parts and a piece of machinery. If that's going to hurt somebody's feelings, I don't know what to do about this country anymore. Yeah,
it's interesting. I'm really curious to see how this next election goes, how people are going to, how the votes are going to go. And I've been talking about this once before. I mentioned that one reason why I believe we have a leftward swing is because of social media. Because prior to this point in time, if you were going to go vote, you either read newspapers or you watched the news on TV, and that's how you got your information. But now, anyone with a Facebook or an Instagram gets bombarded a week before voting, says, oh, go out and vote. You're allowed to. Go ahead and do it. And these people who never took any interest in politics, see a couple of 30-second ads, and they decide to make their whole voting decision on that.
Yeah, well, one thing I'll say, too, about my generation, I'm 28 years old, so I see that constantly. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm not too active on Twitter, but I am on there, so I see it constantly. You know, guys, girls, my age, and dear Lord, I just used two genders. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody. You know, I've got those two groups of people that I'm looking at, and constantly, you know, I'm seeing, you know, I'm just going to go vote for this guy or this or that or whatever else. Just, you know, can you believe these people are doing that? And I like what you said about, you know, before we actually kind of did a little bit of research on our own to see who we'd vote for. Like maybe looking at one of the politicians' voting records would be a very good idea. But I don't think we see a whole lot of that today in such a give me now type of society where everything is right at our fingertips and so instant. And it's like, let me go to this guy's Twitter. I like what he said. I'm voting for him. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, because they give, well, you know, that was one thing that Bernie Sanders, I know, was going on about. Healthcare is a right. And I'm going, okay, and it should be paid for by the government. So by that same token, does not the Second Amendment, a right to keep and bear arms, does that mean the government should pay for our guns? Because it's a right.
Yeah, I'd be completely okay with that, just throwing it out there. Because first off, my wife would be very happy.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure. Yeah, not having to ask. How much was this one? I don't remember.
Well, yeah, and I know she's going to be listening to this too later, so I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm sorry. There's only one or two new guns in the safe. That's it.
That's right, exactly. Our local gun range here has a little sign up. It says, you know, would you like a receipt to show your wife what you told her you paid for this gun? $4.95.
Yeah. Right. Well, actually, I had something kind of funny, and it was from one of our previous contestant winners in our Facebook group, which is the Classic Firearms Buyers group on Facebook. And he actually put up, I had to convince my wife that I actually did win this gun, and I had to show her the email that Clint sent me to show I didn't pay for this gun. It was free.
Right, because, you know, how often do you walk in with a free gun, you know?
It's a rare occasion, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But you guys do give away quite a few firearms. I've noticed that, like, every couple of weeks you guys have to, and it's not just some little, you know, $100 gun either. You guys are giving away, you know, Barrett 50 calibers and Chris carbines and all kinds of really high-end stuff. Yeah,
it really depends on, you know, what we have coming our way. If we know our fan base definitely likes surplus. I mean, Classic Firearms started in 1989 with the sale of a couple of Mosin Nagants. And, you know, so that's where really our bread and butter is. Our roots are in surplus firearms. So anytime we have the chance that we get like a large quantity of SKSs, which we've done before, we've given away those. Right now, actually, we just started our Beretta Model 81 giveaway, which is a 32 ACP pistol, and we're giving away 3 of those to anybody who signs up, which is easy to do at classicfirearms.com. Just click on the banner that says win one of these 3 pistols. And, you know, it'll sometimes be a Barrett 50 cal. That always generates, you know, a lot of eyes on, which, man, marketing will tell you that really works. But a lot of people have come out and said, man, you guys are a fraud. These things are fake. How can you afford to do this? And a simple response is marketing is a beautiful thing.
Well, that's right, because a lot of times the manufacturers will help provide some additional incentive to give their firearms away over somebody else, I'm sure. Now you guys are saying that you guys do a lot of the surplus stuff. I've noticed that seems to be what a lot of guys talk about getting from you, but you guys do carry almost every other gun that's made out there and every other brand as well, right?
Yeah, if you can think it, we most likely carry it, and I mean that goes from your basic ARs to AKs, and of course if you want a gold Tiger Stripe Desert Eagle chambered in 50, we've got you. You know, I mean it's whatever you want. Now there are some things that are difficult to get in, like I would love to get in some, you know, finish in 39, pretty rare rifles, things like that. And it just takes time, you know. Sometimes we'll find something laying out there, and Ben, he's great at, you know, finding these things and getting them in. And so if some people are saying, you know, hey, you don't have exactly what I want, well, if you're looking for an original Thompson M1A1, I'm sorry, that's going to be a little hard to come by, especially with our current ATF laws.
Right, but, and even if you can find them, they're going to be in somebody's collection and worth a bundle of money. You know, that's one thing. I would love to see the Hughes Act of '86 get rescinded. That would just open up the doors for, oh my God, so many things.
Yeah, I would love to see just about any gun law get rescinded, honestly. And, you know, I talked to quite a few of my friends that say, you know, so where do you draw the line as far as what a regular civilian, non-military citizen should be able to own. And I said, man, we should be able to park tanks in our driveway. I don't know what you're talking about. You know?
Well, maybe nuclear submarines just because of the nuclear factor. But other than that, if you could get a diesel-powered submarine, that would be cool.
Yeah, right. A diesel-powered one would be really fun. That would be great for some underwater fishing or something. I don't know how that would work,
right.
But hey.
Yeah, but I mean, but with these, now have you guys noticed a huge difference in what you're able to get? Because I know in the past probably 5, 7, 10 years, when they started restricting imports from certain countries, has that made it difficult to get some of these really good classic surplus firearms that used to be able to come in at really reasonable prices? Have a lot of those been restricted with that?
Yeah, like we see like the old Russian AK-style firearms, and, you can't really get those in anymore. Some Chinese things, like, for instance, these Chinese SKSs that we currently have, that we did have, those, those sat in like a neutral country for 20 years before they were legal to import into the United States. And, there's a law out there, 922R, where, if it's a production firearm, it has to have so many, American parts on it in order for it to come into the U.S., even though it was made in a different country. So yeah, we've seen it be a little difficult, but thankfully for some older firearms that kind of predate a lot of that stuff, we can
there's some leeway for that. All right, Clint, can you hold on for just a moment? We're going to be right back. We're going to have to take a break here, but I just want to mention real quick that you're listening to America's Web Radio. And if you have any questions for us, you can certainly shoot me an email at roger@americaswebradio.com. We'll be right back after these quick messages.
This is David Donaldson with the Atlanta Healing Center, conveniently located in Lawrenceville, Georgia. At AHC, your success is our goal. Addiction recovery is about more than just not using. It's about becoming a whole person and addressing all aspects of your physical, psychological, and social needs. Please call us at 770-696-9862, or you can reach us on the web at www.
Are we? Oh, sorry, we just got cut off. I was still on the air, huh? Sorry. Oh, okay. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I saw something you guys had brought in, like a machine pistol-looking thing, 9x18.
Oh, the PM63? Yeah.
Right. That's a really cool little thing. I want to get some history and some information on one of those.
Yeah, sure.
And if you guys have anything else that's new or interesting or coming in, or anything that you can spill the beans on.
Yes, actually, something that we haven't released just yet, and I actually just torture tested this last Friday. That's pretty. That'll make for an interesting conversation, I think.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll come back to that. I want to get some stuff and give you guys a few plugs as long as you're taking the time to be on here.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. And for sure, if I'm ever in the Atlanta area, I'll definitely hit you up.
Oh yeah, any Tuesday I can probably work that out.
Cool.
All right, stand by.
Yep.
Stakes, Q-U-I-K Stakes, the truly preferred way to stake and identify what's in your garden now.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. This is the Locked and Loaded Show, and you're listening to America's Web Radio. I am Roger B., and we're here with our special guest, Clint Morgan from Classic Firearms. Thanks for being here, Clint.
Thanks for having me, Roger. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. And I hope the listeners are enjoying this, too, because we're going to get some inside information on some really cool new stuff. Because I want to have something here that nobody else has heard of yet, or let something sneak out. Let's let something come out. Now, I saw the other day you had this little machine pistol thing that you guys had brought out, and it's actually been released already.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is the Polish PM63 by Pioneer Arms, and they're a cool little pistol. I think we've actually sold out of those guys, but they were originally designed to be like, what was that?
They're already gone, huh?
Oh, yeah, those things go quick. Well, they're a rare item, and historically they're just pretty cool, too. They're originally designed to to have the stock fold out from them, have a vertical grip on them, and shoot from the open slide or open bolt position because they were designed to be
machine
full
pistols.
auto.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but of course the ones we got in were not that.
No.
They were semi-auto. The stock didn't extend on it. The vertical grip doesn't extend on it, so that way we're all within compliance and everything. But they are cool little guns. But I'll tell you something that's really cool that we've got coming out soon. And I don't know if you're familiar with the original Galil rifle and how those looked.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that the Israelis are very fond of. Actually, they invented that or redesigned an AK to do it, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it was originally designed to pretty much be the born from sand and rough environment AK, I guess you could say. And we have our version coming out with in partnership with James River Armory. Or at least James River's putting them together for us and all. But made from original Galil parts, and we're calling it the Gallant rifle. Since the Galil name is trademarked, we had to be a
Come
little
up with
clever.
something else.
Yeah. So we got Gallant rifles that are coming out, and I actually just took one out and torture tested it this past Friday. And as you can imagine, me being a Marine, torture testing something means I really got to put it through the work.
Oh, right. Now, what caliber are these going to be available in?
These are going to be 5.56 or 223.
Okay, excellent. So now these, as with the original Galils, will the Gallant accept standard NATO magazines?
So they have their own magazines on them. They're going to have the standard 35-round mags that are typically seen with Galil mags. So we'll see those. And we'll have them with both wood furniture, or at least a wood forend, and also more of your plastic kind. And the one that I really beat the crap out of was the plastic furniture one, just because the wood looked good, and I didn't really feel like messing that up too much.
Yeah, those are
in water and dirt, mud, everything you can think of.
Wow, and that's a video that you guys are going to have available on the website soon?
Yep, we will. I posted it up in our Facebook group. Hey guys, can you guess the gun that I'm torture testing today? And of course, we had the gun blurred out, and I was looking dirty because I was covered in mud myself, and it was a hot day.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so I submerged it a couple of times. We ran about on and off camera about 1,000 to 1,200 rounds through it, and it did very well. The mud gave it a little bit of a hiccup, but I think it was more so the mags that were getting full of junk in them and seizing up more so than the rifle. So I'm pretty impressed with that.
Even with a mud torture test, you're supposed to rinse them afterwards.
Yeah, well, I figured if this is a true torture test, I'm going to give it a shot here. I'm just going to see what happens, Of course, I made sure the barrel didn't have any obstruction in it, so that way I'm not hurting myself.
Yeah.
But, it did pretty well for what I thought, and I thought, man, I'm pretty impressed by it.
So you were saying this is a proprietary 35-round magazine that comes with these?
It is like your Galil standard. That was the type of mag that came out with these guys. So yeah, so it'll be more so proprietary, except that is just the magazine that was originally designed for that rifle. Okay.
But these will be available soon, I guess. If you guys already have one for torture testing, they should be incoming shortly.
Yes, yeah, so shortly for sure. So definitely if your listeners are on Facebook, even though they might not agree with Facebook, and they might be censoring us, we're trying to strike back. We have a approaching 12,000 strong closed Facebook group, 12,000 strong member closed Facebook group called the Classic Firearms Buyers Group, and we'll be posting updates in there, and also, of course, signing up for our emails at classicfirearms.com. We'll let people know when these things hit the market and become available, which will be shortly, within the next couple of weeks, Robin.
Okay, so no idea on retail price on these yet?
Not yet. I know we got that one in, but I don't have a hard number on the price yet, so I don't want to make either my employer mad or the purchasers mad, so I'm not going to say anything
like coming up
price.
with an incorrect price, not knowing, yes. But they probably will be, as with most classic firearms weapons, I'm sure they're going to be reasonably priced and of the highest quality.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, okay, so that's incoming, and you had the little machine pistols out. Now, what would you say is probably the most popular gun that you guys sell as far as the surplus stuff goes?
Well, it depends on what we get in. The most popular is typically what we have in stock. Right now it's been those Beretta 81s. We have been moving through those quick, and they're cool little double-stack 32 ACP pistols, man, and they are a lot of fun. And, we figured we got 3 of them that look pretty cool. We're going to give away those ones. One of them has some pretty neat wood grips to it. And so those are pretty popular. When we had the first shipment of our SKSs came in, those went really quick. Anytime we get anything that's Russian bolt action, Mosin Nagants, things like that, M44s, man, they move quick. But that's the way the surplus market is. Whatever's available is what's popular.
Is what comes. Yeah, whatever you guys can get your hands on. Now,
exactly.
Let's just do a little crystal balling and saying that they actually work out things with the Russians and they back down a little bit or do whatever they need to do, play nice, and they reduce the restrictions on imports from that country. Would that possibly open up a bunch of new doors for stuff to come rolling in that maybe hasn't been able to be had in over 10 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so for sure. And I'm sure Ben would be over there trying to figure out, we want this crate, we want that crate, we want that pallet.
Packing container loads full of stuff. Yes, for sure. Because now it's like a lot of that stuff is just very collectible just because of the restrictions on it. But I know prior to this, you could buy a case of Mosin Nagants for they were like $79, $89 a piece, and they had cases of them sitting on tables at gun shows.
Yeah, and I wish we were in that market today, because we sometimes get those cases of Mosin Nagants in, but man, you are hard pressed to find one in good function, especially if you find one a little bit older, what's considered a Dragoon era Mosin Nagant with like a nice laminated stock on it. You're not going to find that for $200-$300
for that price anymore. No, those have gone. I mean, they have the supply of those has completely dried up. And that, of course, has driven the demand way up because the demand remained the same and the supply was gone. And then, of course, when they restricted it, everybody wants something that they're not supposed to have anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that with the bump stock ban. I mean, people said it's not a bump stock; it's now it's a modified paperweight, or it's a lampshade.
That's right. Yeah, you have to. I mean, I still don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, these people bought these things in good faith, paid good money for them, and now they're just supposed to destroy them or hand them in or get rid of them. I mean, that would seem like it violates laws all over the place without going through due process on each and every one. How could you do that? Yeah. But, backdoor gun control.
Yeah, and you bring up two good points there because you mentioned, you got to be violating some law somewhere because somebody purchased that in good faith. They had no ill intention to go out and do any type of mass shooting with it or anything. Well, the same thing can be said with your AR-15 or any other type of semi-automatic firearm that was legally purchased. You know what I mean? Or any firearm for that matter that was legally purchased under good intent. And now we have a couple of people that are protected by the same type of firearms telling us, no, you can't have that. And the second point you mentioned, too, is due process. And I think your episode a week or two ago was based off of red flag laws.
Oh, my God, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know we could talk an entire segment about that, as you did, and it was very well done. But it's funny because you just mentioned red flag laws last week, 2 weeks ago, and just a couple of days before that, I wrote up my entire paper. I won't say entire paper. It's only a sheet long. But, just for my followers and friends who aren't so sure what's going on with those. And I had a pretty decent response to it. I think I'll email it to you later if you're interested.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, do you people not understand that what due process is? And you're not just violating the Second Amendment there, I mean, I'm pretty sure we've got Fourth Amendment. We've got other amendments that are there.
Oh, yeah. All right, Clint, hold on one moment. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And I want to get into this a little more because we did discuss that a couple weeks ago. You're listening to America's Web Radio. This is Locked and Loaded, and I am Roger B. with special guest Clint Morgan. We'll be right back.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Hi, this is Steve Ronaldo, host of the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio. Just talking to you about antique car insurance. I think that if you're looking for the best coverage for your classic car, consider J.C. Taylor Insurance. They've been my insurer for years in this hobby and have the top rating of all of the insurance companies in the hobby. When you get ready for insurance, call J.C. Taylor or visit jctaylor.com on the Internet.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome back. I am Roger B. This is America's Web Radio, and you're listening today to Locked and Loaded. And we have our special guest, Clint Morgan, with us today from Classic Firearms. How you doing there, Clint?
Doing good. Thanks, man.
Okay, yeah, and you were discussing red flag laws. This has been a point of contention with me for several weeks now. In fact, last week I think I covered, there was a list of all the constitutional amendments that red flag laws violate. Yeah. And it was, the 2nd, the 4th, I believe the 5th, 6th, and 14th. I could be mistaken. I'd have to look I don't have my notes with me. But it were like 5 different constitutional amendments that were violated by the implementation of red flag laws.
Yeah, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And then the second part of that, too, is you're pretty much turning your own citizens against each other, really, in a sense, especially because I did a little bit of research on my own on these red flag laws, and I read up on, I can't remember which state it was now. I think, Louisiana House Bill number 448. That's what I have here in front of me for those notes. Nowhere does it say that it has to be like a family member that has to, turn you in, so to say. I mean, so it could just be anybody. You could have an argument with somebody on Facebook, and all of a sudden they're, calling up local agencies saying, "Hey, you're nuts. You're going to go shoot up something. You might want to go."
They can swat you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's going to actually affect the way people get to know each other. I mean, you're not going to be able to talk to your neighbors about having guns or anything unless you're sure they're going to be people who, feel the same way. If they don't, you don't even want to let them know you have anything. So people have become more and more isolated. And actually division, I think, is what politicians are looking for. They want to push division so they can stay in power, make whatever laws they need to keep people voting the way they want them to.
Right, and I mean, we all know that divide and conquer is the perfect way to take out your enemy, and we're starting to see even more and more so that these politicians aren't exactly the friends, or they're not there for the people like they're supposed to be, and I think they're starting to treat us, especially our gun-owning selves or more conservative-leaning citizens, kind of like the enemy, and it's not exactly fair.
Oh, no, and like I said, in the red flag laws, there's actually already been, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but there's been a death already. A 61-year-old man was killed because his sister said he got too loud when he was discussing politics or arguing about politics. He got too loud. Even though this man had never had any legal violation other than a speeding ticket in the last 30 years, had nothing against him, they came to take his guns away and ended up killing him. Yeah. So there's already been a death. And then there's the guy in Florida, a case of mistaken identity. He shared a name with somebody who was a criminal. I mean, a completely different person, but he had to hand his guns in because he shared the same name with them, even though he had gone to the police department, sheriff's department, and proved he was not this person. He weighed 200 pounds. The guy they were talking about was 120. He was bald. The guy had a head full of black hair with a bunch of domestic abuse violations, and this guy had never had anything.
Yeah, and that's the same type of entity, government, that a lot of people are thinking should be the same people to protect us, and they can't even figure out who is who.
They don't even know who you are. And yet it's going to be up to him to pay to get his weapons back. They're not just going to hand them over. He's got to fight to get them back now.
Yeah, so that's just the whole, palm face shaking my head type of scenario there, because it just makes absolutely no sense how anybody could be for any of this. I mean, well, you can already tell that government isn't exactly they're not the most reliable or efficient entity out there. But yeah, let's go ahead and turn all of our personal responsibilities over to them, like, pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, all of that kind of stuff. No, they can stay out of it.
Right. I mean, that's back to the Ben Franklin quote about liberty and security. You can't trade one for the other. It doesn't work. I've said to people before, I'd rather have chaotic freedom than safe slavery.
Right.
And that's it's crazy. But the red flag laws, I mean, because it doesn't even have to be somebody in a position of authority. It doesn't have to be a law enforcement official. It doesn't have to be a psychiatrist. It can be your neighbors, people you work with, somebody you go to school with. I mean, anybody can overhear you say almost anything and decide that you might be dangerous, and they can call the local authorities to red flag you.
Yeah, and that's not cool at all in my book.
Oh no, I mean that's going right back to the Salem witch trials. Anyone who's a witch, you have to prove you're innocent.
Yeah, and that's complete backwards to what our justice system is all about. I mean, this entire guilty until proven innocent mindset has got to go. That's not what we are founded on. We are all presumed innocent until proven guilty, and I think a lot of people are starting to forget that, and a lot of people are getting their feelings hurt when somebody spits some truth at them, whether it be in person or online. And we see it with, like you mentioned, Antifa before. I see this video constantly, and I always laugh at it, where this one Antifa member goes to sucker punch one guy, and another guy steps in and literally just grabs this guy's head. He didn't even clock him. He just stops it, and then he puts his finger up and waves no. And it's like, wow, what absolute shame. But that's the mindset that a lot of people are in today, where they just think they can get away with this stuff.
Well, because they are, unfortunately. That's the problem, is that, it's like there was an article I saw. I don't know if I have that with me today, but in New York, apparently, the New York Police Union is telling New York police officers, before you arrest anybody for anything, call it in with a supervisor to make sure it's okay to arrest anybody. Yeah,
that's not going to work. I used to work at a local police department, and I was a 911 dispatch and call taker. And if a supervisor had to be on the scene, and we were a small town, like I think that we had one road that ran through the entire town that was all of maybe 3 or 4 miles, and sure, the supervisor would come out during those scenes because there really wasn't a whole lot going on. But I can't imagine like CMPD or Charlotte here, where they have to have the supervisor come out just to arrest somebody. No, that's not
any arrest, or at least have to call into them first or something. It's just that's what we're getting to, though. People they're hamstringing all the law enforcement officers, and they're letting people get away with things that they shouldn't be, like the Antifa people coming out and threatening people and beating up people, and the police just standing aside going, well, we don't want to offend anybody, so we're just going to stand back and let it happen.
Yeah, and then God forbid you actually protect yourself with a gun. Next thing you know, you're the one that's in the wrong.
You're right. You're the criminal. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we only had an hour today, so I'm not going to be able to go into too much more depth. But it was great having you here, and I really appreciate you taking your time to call in and be with us today.
No, Roger, it was an absolute pleasure. If I'm in the Atlanta area on a Tuesday, I'll make sure that'll be the day that I'm there. I'll definitely stop by.
That would be fantastic. And like I say, I want to keep in touch, so maybe even if we do another call-in show, if you're available, especially when you guys get something really great and want to discuss some new products or something like that. Or now, is there a giveaway going on right now? You said the Berettas are being given away right now, right?
That's right. Yep, we've got 3 Beretta 81s that are being given away at this time.
Okay, and you can enter that contest by going onto ClassicFirearms.com?
Yep, as soon as you go to ClassicFirearms.com, there'll be a banner right at the top of the home page, and you'll see Enter Here to win. And win one of the 3 Beretta 81 pistols. Click on that, and then, of course, you get extra entries for any time you watch my video, or you watch another video, or share, subscribe, refer friends is definitely the big one.
Okay.
So anything you can do to do that to get those extra entries, so that way maybe you have one of these cool pistols.
That would be, and that's the best way to get a gun, is a free one. Now, I also want to mention that this will be archived on the America's Web Radio website, so you can go on there if you didn't get to listen to it or got cut off in the middle and you want to hear the rest of Clint and I's discussion. You can certainly log on, and that will be archived probably within a day or so. We usually have everything on there, and most of them go on YouTube, unless, of course, they get flagged, but we're going to try and squeeze as many as we can on there and make that happen. So if you didn't get to see this, or if you're just catching part of it, you go on to America's Web Radio, go back and look for today's date. Clint Morgan mentioned in the headline there. So if you want to hear our discussion, by all means log in and take a listen to that. And like I say, we look forward to having you on again soon. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and I got to wrap this up. Thanks again, Clint, for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. Thank you.
And you're listening to America's Web Radio. This is Locked and Loaded, and I am Roger B.
Whether cruising the strip in a 57